I know what it feels like to be not where I wanna be, and it feels like torture every day. I was describing, like, where I was at that moment, and I was crying, and he told me, like, "Why are you crying? Like, this should be done by now, like, you should just have accepted this, and you shouldn't have emotion left." Like, there's something else extra wrong with me because I was still emotional about it. Give yourself more authority in your own life.
Okay, so thank you very much, Tricia, for coming to my Business Breakthrough podcast. Would you mind just start sharing about what is it you do? Why have you maybe started doing what is it you do right now? And then where do you want to take it? And you can take it as you want. You can start whenever you want. Just we can get to know you a little bit more.
Okay. I am a healer, and at the present moment, my practice has changed a lot over the last year. Last year, I was not doing events, I was not doing retreats, and I've done 5 events and 2 retreats. And that's actually in the last 7 months. And before that, I was mostly working with entrepreneurs that felt stuck and didn't know what was actually holding them back in their business. And I can go like all the way back to 30 years where I started in massage. I know I'm answering this question backwards.
You can answer whatever you want. It's a free country.
It's a free country. I started in massage and I quickly found out that the physical issues that people were coming to me with had an emotional factor to them. So physical, mental, and emotional. And when you're dealing with anything, almost either all or at least one can make a huge difference in all three. And it's actually really beautiful to get to witness healings that I still do physically for select clients and get to see healings like the way we're speaking over Zoom, where people will I'm just supporting their body, but they'll have a physical movement that is showing me that they're actually going through a healing process.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's great. I mean, to be honest, about physical, mental, and emotional state, I speak on every single event I have. I always start there because I'm sharing people, I mean, which state is the easiest to change, like from these three. Physical is usually the easiest to change, but it doesn't matter which one you focus on. But if you change one, you change all of them, right? So if you cannot be with them in person, do the physical thing. And because body remembers and you cannot release the emotions, so then you can work with them over Zoom on the emotional or mental state and the body. And you see that, like you see it over the Zoom, they'll start and then we'll like later on in the call, right? They'll relax and you see those changes. So, but why are you doing it?
Why am I doing it? Okay. Well, one, I'm really great at it. So I feel like it would almost be a disservice to the world to not be using the gifts that I have been given. But I will also share that I was my first customer in everything that I do. So I was hit by a truck when I was 21 years old and told that I shouldn't have children, and if I did, it was greatly discouraged, but if I did go against all what the doctors were telling me that I would need someone to help me 24/7, that I would not be able to take care of my children and I would never be out of pain. And I probably believed that for a year, maybe a little longer, and then I started changing that belief, but also that sort of came even though I was trying to change it, that came more towards the end, and I have 3 beautiful children. I have no pain, and so I worked on the physical body with clients for quite a while until I started a nutrition program, and I saw that people needed help with trauma as well. So I've been through a lot in my life, and there was a moment in time where I was investing so much in my healing journey that I was wondering, will I ever be free? Will I truly ever be free from this? Will I ever heal? and it just felt like I was spending money, and people would tell me, "Oh, yes, in 8 weeks, you're not gonna have any issues anymore, you'll be completely healed." And I don't actually promise anything to anybody because it feels really terrible for someone to make a promise to you that should never really be made because everybody's body and safety for how fast they can go through a healing journey is completely different. And it depends on if you've suppressed it your whole life, if you're ready to move those bigger things, if you're ready to look at it. I will say that, I healed myself first, even though spent a lot of money on trying to get support from other people. There was a few key factors missing, and I sat in this chair in front of a business community, and I jumped up and down, sorta like Tom Cruise style, like, "I'm healed, I'm, like, free," and people saw that moment, and they saw the way I was like before. This is, like, all business people. And so some of them started reaching out to me, and I got to the root so quickly for some of the people because I was supporting their body in a completely different way, and we were moving through the emotional parts, but also through key moments in their life that needed to be looked at in a different way and supported through healing. And so one woman in particular was a naturopath, and she couldn't figure out why she wasn't welcoming business, why she was struggling so much in her business because she had so much to offer. She could help people on such a deep level. And so I asked some questions and we got to the root of it. And I felt her body. That was the first time that I felt someone's body at a distance downregulate, like, completely relax. So when you say the right words, I can be with 3 different people basically saying close to the same thing, but it needs to be said in different words. And once those words hit that person's body, there's no denying it. A deep truth is told and their whole body relaxes. So the why is I know what it feels like to be not where I wanna be, and it feels like torture every day. And I know what it feels like to get up and live a life that I would never dreamed for myself. Like, 7 months ago, yeah, sure, I was leading up to my first event, so I knew I was going to be doing event. I didn't know how far that would take me. So every step that you take towards your life that is meant for you is what drives me.
Perfect. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you very much for sharing. I have so many notes in here. I know what to stand. So first I would like to start with this one. You mentioned the doctor told you something and then you believe it for a year or something, and then you start obviously thinking differently. So I see that as a obviously a big thing in how to say, in medical, the medical stuff, because obviously as someone who trained to be a doctor, it took in years, right? So is that authority. And then obviously people, they never study, they don't, they don't care about it unless something happened. Then something happens, and then doctor says one thing, so they kind of believed him because it's an authority. So is there something can be done about that? Where, like, are you thinking about doing anything also for these kind of people to stop believing the first thing the doctor says? Like, how people realize, or took you a year, so would it be good that people could realize that sooner, right? Like, let's get the second opinion or someone else. But there is so many people, they have one thing, something happened, they'll go to doctor, whatever they said, and they believe it. They start taking antibiotics and stupid things for no reason. All right. So do you have anything to say about that part, the authority, and how to maybe, because there are things where we need doctors, like amputate things and I don't know, surgeries, but there are things which we don't need them at all, but people still use them.
Yeah, what's really interesting is I went to a doctor maybe a year and a half to 2 years after I had been hit by the truck, and I was describing, like, where I was at that moment, and I was crying, and he told me Like, why are you crying? Like, this should be done by now. Like, you should just have accepted this and you shouldn't have emotion left. Like, there's something else extra wrong with me because I was still emotional about it. So what I would say is to give yourself more authority in your own life, to not allow for so many people. And it's actually really hard. It sounds like easy, but it's actually hard and it needs to be practiced because we're so used to the moment we're born, being told things by our parents, and those were the first authority figures in our life. And maybe they didn't tell us some great things about ourselves, or were raised in a household where we were having to have more validation or just be accepted to survive. So it depends on how you were raised, but for the most part, I would say get someone in your life that actually knows the healing process. I'm one of those people. I can't see everyone in the world. I know there are other people who do this as well, who can be with the body and know how it moves. When I'm working on someone's body, if there's something that's tight in the upper right shoulder and I'm working on it and it's not melting in my hands, I'm going to go look other places in the body. Same thing for shoulder blade area. I could be working in mid back and something won't let go. And then I go up to the shoulder blade, I come back down, everything's gone. Everything's connected. Everything's so connected in our body that when we do work on one thing, we work on everything. So even if you were to find someone who could work physically and can't work on the emotional, I don't think that would be as beneficial as someone who could work on the emotional, because a lot of times that will allow the physical to just fire.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely, you are right. I mean, like, with the authority, I was like, you said it's going from the child because obviously, not only parents, but after, like, if you are sick, you go to the doctor. It's just the conditioning every single time to go. Then people need to kind of meet someone like yourself or someone who's more open-minded about these things. And I myself not been to doctor maybe for the past 7 years and not have any pill, anything like that, because my wife started studying it more. That's why we also do homeschooling. We don't go to authorities. And then my like a habit would be I would have a temperature or fever, right? And then I would in the past was like, oh, you need to take that pill if you have the fever. And I
Mm.
remember, like, my wife told me years ago, it's like, you don't need to take anything because, the body heal itself anyway. It's the process. It needs to go to the fever because it needs to kill these things, and you're gonna be okay. It'll be the same process. You just don't take the thing. So I stopped doing it, and it was exactly the same process without the pill. So I'm like, it's just the conditioning to use certain things which we don't need them, and just taking care about the body. Um, I like when you said about you would be doing the service of not doing it. I love that because one of the first ever courses I've done was with Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins. And then Dean Graziosi is using a lot. It's like, if you are good in something and you've been able to help yourself like you did, overcome something, and then people are asking you about you would be really doing the service for people, not sharing your knowledge what you did, because then like you just be kind of selfish and keeping it for yourself. So I really like that word because it's literally it's like there is this word of like some people say like I don't like sales, but like I don't need to sell you because you want the help, right? So I would be doing the service I don't sell you, right? So it's really good that you are looking at that from that point of view. I have a question. If somebody, which I have people around me like that, and I'm sure a lot of people they have, you see that there is something wrong with that person in terms of like, that they hold emotion in themselves, that they are holding something back, and it's for years, it can be from the childhood or whatever, but because you are close to them, they would never listen to you, even whatever you say. If you recommend them to go and see someone like you, they're like, no, no, I'm good. I don't need anything. But everybody else see that they need some help. So what to do about those people? Because we want to help them, but they wouldn't listen to us because we have too close.
Yeah, everyone needs to come to it on their own and their own timing. However, dropping little seeds, but not pushing it on them is then you could suggest you wanna go to a healing experience with me, and you go together. The events that I do, there's 7 people at my last one, it was one of the smaller ones, and we went around at the end and we asked, like, what each person got from that experience, and everyone said something different. So one person said that they have, like, such a busy mind, it never quiets, and her mind was quiet, and she was blown away that that could be done in that amount of time or at all. And then another person said, "I didn't realize how much I actually had to let go, like, I thought I was coming here, and you guys were talking about how we were gonna let go of stuff, but I didn't realize how much I was actually carrying and holding on to." So, it could be where you bring them to an experience
Yeah.
or an online class. It can be a gift. Will they use it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Absolutely. I was doing a training over the weekend in here in Scotland about raising finance for a property and business deals, right? It's 2 days training, so I know people need to stay overnight. That was the main thing for me. So I know that. And then on Saturday, I would do a surprise for them. They didn't know what they're doing, only my business partner. And then we would go, and because I know that some of the people very well, and I know they are having some of these issues, and then I took them for a sound bath, like a sound healing, right? So we
oh,
lie down on the floor and we did the sound healing. And I've done it in the past a few times already, but they never did it, right? So it was a very new experience, and they were after sharing about what was happening and the vibration, what they're feeling because of they have the jam, and she's very close to you, and a lot of different things. But I had no choice. I said like, "Hey, we are going to experience," and they didn't tell them anything, so they had to do it. But they are my clients, so it's a bit different than they're like family members. But yeah, I found it very powerful to be doing these kind of things to kind of, get still and work on yourself. Yeah.
there is the part about how when we work on ourselves as well, that it can change every relationship in your life. So I'm not a person that goes around and talks about what stage I'm at, but I have gotten to a place where I am able to see someone who hurts me because they don't see me for who I really am. For instance, someone saying to me, "Oh, Tricia, you're just starting an argument. Like, what are you doing?" And I'm actually just joking around with someone, like, "Stop starting fights." And so because this person is so close to me, I'm like, "Wow, they still don't know who I am," and found that to be hurtful. I'm at a wedding. It's not an appropriate place to cry, but then I also look over at my family, and there's a significant person missing because he died, um, 2 years ago. And so I'm feeling the emotion from the thing that the person said to me, and then I'm looking over and so people were coming up to me and saying like, "Oh, are you okay? Like, what's going on?" And I was like, "Actually, I'm just, like, had this moment with this person, and I'm not, like, wanting to throw them under the bus, but it's what happened, so I'm just feeling emotion from that." And then I looked over and my uncle's missing, so I'm feeling that. And I stayed with the feeling until it was cleared. And it's the first time that I did it in the moment, even though, like, I talk about it and I share about how important it is to really be free so that your energy can flow and you can attract the right things in your life. It's not about suppressing. The more you suppress, the harder it is for you to attract those things into your life. And so I got to go and then dance with my children and have the most amazing time because nothing was suppressed. So someone said to me, "Did you learn your lesson? Why did you go and sit with that person?" And I said, "I will never learn that lesson. I will show up every time and give that person an opportunity to see me for who I am, and I will love them exactly for who they are because it's their conditioning that brought them to this, and it's not on me to tell someone else how to be." But I get to enjoy my life more, and I'm not gonna force anything on that person. Even though I've opened it up to them, I've said, "I will work with you." There's other things, so I will work with you if you would like won't charge you, you're a family member, but they're not at that place where they would want that, and maybe they will never get there. So what can you do to help you be able to enjoy your life around that person? We can try to save people, but we can't save everybody if they're not willing to do anything. Sorry, go ahead.
Sometimes it's better just to let go, to not able to always try to help, but hopefully the people will find their own, like you said, on their own time. And it's just like you said, you can do a little bit of seeding and someone else will say something. Like you know how it is, like sometimes um with the, I mean, everybody experiences it. Let's say parents would tell you something, or a teacher, or I don't know, someone will tell you something in the past to do it or not do it, and then you would listen to them like, no, it's not. And then there will be some another authority which is nothing to do with you, and they'll say the same thing, and you're like, that's good, yeah, you are right. And then after, the family members like, I told you the same thing. It was like, oh no, you didn't. It was different. But they wouldn't listen to that person, right? Good. Yeah, but I think it's good, like you mentioned, and you are open about it. To not suppress the emotions down and just to let it go. And I have 3 children, so I can see that on them. Like I want them to express emotions, because more they suppress them because they're holding them back. Especially one of my daughters, she's very like, she when she gets angry, she's like, and she's just holding them back. And I'm like, hey, you need to get these emotions out. And after there's a big E. And after when that happened, I know she's good for another week, or it's going good. But everybody is a little bit different, and she's the only one who's doing like that. But I know it's coming, and she needs to let it go. But I'm like, hey, let it go sooner. But it is what it is, yeah. Hmm. And so, what
How
are your plans now? With it, how old is she? She is 7.
Okay,
So
7 is an interesting age.
yeah, I have two. I have two, 7 and 9. So 3 daughters. So it's all the fun. And actually, we are going today. I need to go soon to take them to gymnastics, and then tomorrow they have a gymnastic competition. So we are actually jobbing somewhere. So they are going for their second competition. It's gonna be fun.
Mm.
Uh, so what about like, obviously you help yourself, now you are helping people, you are doing these classes, you mentioned you had some people. Um, do you have like some bigger vision, like I want to help that many people, or I want to help this kind of a people, or be in a different locations? Like, would you have anything like what you are aiming towards?
Yeah, I'm planning my next retreat right now, and I do have a somatic monthly membership. And when I created that, I thought that I would have a whole lot of people come into that and just come to those classes, because those classes alone will help someone on their healing journey, and it's all group, so it's very affordable. However, what I ended up doing was giving it for free to anybody who works one-on-one with me, because if someone is paying to work one-on-one with me, I want them to have the supported classes. I didn't want it to be an extra fee on top of that. So most of the people who I'm working with right now, and I don't know how much longer I will take people for one-on-one, because I only have so many hours in a day. So eventually I might have to transition to seeing people mostly in groups. However, it's so powerful what can be let go of on a Zoom call in a group. I had a woman who was drinking um 2 to 3 bottles of wine a night, and so she came to see me for one session saying she wanted to have 1 glass of wine a night, and so I saw her for one session. At that time, I was doing, um, 3 deliverable. It didn't matter what it was, it's just exactly what you needed, practice, if it was breath work, if it was a meditation, whatever it was, and so for her, I was like, "Oh, but you need 5." To actually help move you through to what you want. So she did the 5. She, after one session, drinks 1 glass of wine a night, and I sent her a recording of a class that I did for our business community, and in that class, she realized she realized in our one-on-one session that who she thought was causing her to drink wasn't actually in adulthood, it was in her childhood. So we found that memory, and that's what helped it so quickly. But in the group class, she was able to heal the thing into her adulthood, and she sent me the most beautiful message that she thought that it was hate, but it was actually love, and that she loved this person and this person loved her. And that was a recording that I sent someone. So if you're supported with the right practices, you maybe you won't be surprised, but some other people would be surprised what could be done in a group session.
Mm. Yeah, it's very powerful. Thank you for sharing that with us. That reminded me. Also, I was doing the exercise in a group setting. It was a big group setting. It was with Tony Robbins, 13,000 people group setting. But he was taking us through the exercise on the van in Germany in September, and also about remembering in the some hurtful, let's say, memory, some memory which we remember like in the past, which we think like we are repeat, hurt. And very often, like you would imagine parents, right? There was some situation, and then he would be taking us even, but okay, but imagine what was before that and before that, in order that happen, and then after you realize that whatever happened, they did it from position of love, and actually, and they're like, oh, okay, so that was their love, but this is how it turned out because they had no other choice to do it. It's just because you are a child, you don't see it like that. So it just reminded me this kind of exercise to turn those moments into that. And I'm going through some kind of difficult moment now with my business partner. We split, so it's kind of like that. So I don't know how it's gonna go and how long it's gonna take, but it's just like I'm like cannot think about it. It's done, and then we don't need to move on. But emotions are part of the life, so we need to better we can handle them, better we can live with that. It's better for us, right?
Mhm.
Hmm. Okay. I think I would like to ask you one more question. And obviously, you've already shared a few times, maybe the answer to that question a few times, but maybe if you can think of a different moment, if let's say, obviously, what you do, it's a business, right? So you take people in, you help them, they pay you. Have you ever been in this position with this business where you are like, I'm not doing it, you know, I mean, there is not enough money coming in, or I cannot be bothered, people not taking serious, or anything which you were like, you were feeling really down and you wanted to feel like, that's it, it's me done. The reason I'm asking is because there are people like right now, they are feeling in that scenario. So I know for some kind of advice or tip, how do you overcome it, and what helped you, or who helped you, or uh, so some ideas which maybe they can do.
Okay. I would say there are difficult times because I do my energy work on myself. And the moment I started doing that, I started getting lots of new people. So that made it less hard. I would say when was it hard would be times that it didn't feel like I was making a big enough difference because I didn't have not because I didn't wasn't doing great work, but because I didn't have the clients to help. So I'm at a different spot of my business right now, and I am enjoying what I'm doing. So it's a harder question to answer. So I'm trying to put myself back in a place that was difficult. Um, and instead I'll answer it because I'm trying to put myself in a position that I can't put myself in right now for some reason. So instead of me trying to do that, I'll put I'll I'll put myself in a position of how would I help a person who can you just repeat it so that I can connect to it?
Somebody's feeling really down with themselves, with their business, like it's not going well. They're thinking like maybe it's not for me. Maybe I should go back to work. I should have made a start. They are maybe doubting themselves, and what would be maybe one thing which they can do to help them to overcome that situation? Because we are all in those situations of the opinion of our life.
So we wake up in the morning in a different brainwave pattern. We wake up in a more relaxed brainwave pattern when we can be more open and also we can ask deeper questions. And so you can, in those moments when you're going to sleep, ask questions of yourself and see what comes up in the morning. Because it can be like people can notice, like, oh, when I'm in the shower, because you're relaxed, you'll get more ideas there.
Yeah.
So if you ask deeper questions, so I would be a person who would help a person like that, help support a person like that. But if they're not going to hire someone to help them to move the energy around, it would be, I've had people who have come to me and they're in that state, like it's very hard. One was a 5-minute appointment, one was a 20-minute appointment, both got clients like the next day. One was like old clients and new clients were reaching out. So you can hire someone to help you to figure out why it's hard. Why, and maybe that'll make it easier, or you can do things to help change your state. If you can imagine that you're down and you're not feeling good, that's not gonna be a very magnetic thing to attract people towards you if you're in a business, right? So if you are in a higher vibrational state and you're a match for that person, then it's gonna be more magnetic for them. But I really used that morning strategy for years, and it just came to me one day where I'm gonna ask in the morning, "What am I gonna do for my body? What am I gonna do for my mind? What am I gonna do for my heart today? What am I gonna do for my soul?" And I wouldn't necessarily pick a different thing for each of them, but what could help me with all of them. So, I would say to support yourself, to actually focus on yourself and what is right for you, and usually the path will appear when you're paying enough attention to your body, to your vessel, to the thing that attracts people towards you. Because there are people who are saying, like, "My business isn't going well, I'm open," but they actually have this energy, "Come, I can," and it's not going to attract people towards them. And so, I work on a different level in terms of I work on the energetics, and if I'm reading someone's body or their chakras, there might actually be even a memory that comes up, and when we've dealt with that memory, it can stop block.
Thank you very much. Those are really good. Thank you for the answer and sharing that with us because everybody's going through different things and I like to ask this usually at the end. So because everybody relates to different person, so you might be relatable to someone who listens and someone else to someone else. So I do like that so people can find their own ways and try different things and think of like asking the questions like you mentioned in the evening because different waves and then in the morning you might come up with answers. I think it's true like even in like you said in the shower when you are more relaxed different things you like you sort of people come in ideas in the shower because also the muscle relax the body and a lot of different things. Thank you very much for coming, Tricia. Pleasure to have you on my podcast. And then I hope, obviously, I'll see you at some event in the future as well. And then, thank you for that. And obviously, I will be asking you later to send me some photos and some Instagram and whatever you have so I can put it all in description. Yeah.
Thank you. It was great.
I'll just